Welcome to the Life Makeovers podcast. My name is Cindy D. Whitmer, and I am the Midlife Makeover Coach, helping you turn your midlife into your best life, one step at a time. Through powerful conversations, my own midlife roller coaster story, and over 3 decades of helping people transform their lives through counseling and coaching, I am on a mission to help you create your own definition of success and happiness. Thank you for being here. Hey, everybody, it's Cindy here. Happy Friday to you. This week, we've been talking about grief. And, I could talk for months about grief. There's so much to know and understand and learn about the grief process. But I hope the nuggets that I've shared this week have been useful to you if you are grieving or if you are supporting someone who's grieving. So please go back and check out all the podcasts this week if you're wanting more. So to share for today, I thought I would I want to share an article I wrote 10 years ago after my father had died. At the time, I was executive director of All Faith Counseling Center in Atchison, Kansas. And through that position, I had a column in the local newspaper called Life Matters. And, I shared the matters of life and tried to offer some coaching and teaching and counseling and so forth through the written word. And after he died, I took one of my articles, one of my columns, and I called it Remembering. So I want to share this with you today and see what it triggers for you in your experiences of grief and loss. And hopefully it'll be helpful. Standing over my father's grave, many wonderful memories flashed before me like a movie. I remembered countless games of cards, walks with his dogs, and philosophical conversations. I remembered him teaching me to ride a bike and taking me out for ice cream on Wednesday nights. I remembered that every time a boy broke my heart, whether it was after a 2-week or a 2-year relationship, he gave me the same slice of wisdom. There are other fish in the sea, sweetie pie. That's what he called me all my life. The call from the hospital came at midnight less than 2 weeks ago. Okay, now this was 10 years ago. Okay, this is the article I wrote. The call from the hospital came at midnight less than 2 weeks ago. I'm sorry to inform you, your father passed away suddenly this evening. Now there's a moment I would like to forget. I heard the empathic voice on the other end, but I didn't want to believe her. As you can imagine, the next several days were a series of details, decisions, and appearances from loved ones far and near. When the funeral was over, his body buried, I began going through from closet to closet, room by room, sorting through what symbols remained of his short 69-year life. Memories raced through my mind and filled my heart, sometimes with sadness and sometimes with joy. People stopped by the house and told stories of him I had never heard before. I was so happy they remembered. Many years ago, I worked as a grief counselor at a hospice. I sat with people for months as they muddled through the uninvited chore of dealing with the death of a loved one. Hundreds of times I was asked the question, do I have to forget about him or her? The answer, of course, is no. First of all, it's not very realistic to forget about someone who has been significant in your life. Secondly, our grief is not served by attempting to wipe any trace of them out of our minds or our lives. What seems to help people move forward with their lives despite a terrible loss is remembering the person realistically. In other words, remembering things you loved and appreciated about them, as well as the things you didn't. Also, remembering the good times in your relationship as well as the challenging times helps create healthy grief. Having a balanced view offers a perspective that supports your adjustment to life without the person. What tends to happen is a deceased loved one becomes a saint in everyone's eyes. People put them on a pedestal, only remembering all the perfectly wonderful qualities they possessed, and then cannot figure out how to go on without them. Then they become stuck. On the other hand, we don't want to dwell too long on their faults or the difficult times. If we get stuck in that scenario, we may find ourselves bitter. angry, or in emotional turmoil for a long time. Filling our hearts with regret, guilt, or hate will only create complicated grief and lengthen our adjustment period. Balancing all of the positives and negatives makes grief a more manageable task. I loved going fishing and mushroom hunting with my father. I felt frustrated that he was not a guy to pick up the phone and call. Those are just some simple examples to trigger your own memories of who you have loved and lost in your life. On behalf of my dad and all those who are grieving for right now, I want to share a Jewish reading from Yizkor, which means remembrance. Okay, so here it is. It's called Remembrance, and I read this at the end of my father's graveside service. In the rising of the sun and in its going down, we remember you. In the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we remember you. In the opening buds of buds and in the warmth of summer, we remember you. In the rustling of the leaves and the beauty of autumn, we remember you. In the beginning of the year and when it ends, we remember you. When we are weary and in need of strength, we remember you. When we are lost and sick at heart, we remember you. When we have joys we yearn to share, we remember you. So long as we live, you too shall live, for you are a part of us, and we remember you. Thank you so much for listening. How would you like to receive my #1 best-selling book, The Midlife Makeover Method? All you have to do is leave a review for this podcast, take a snapshot of it, and send it to cindy@cindydwhitmer.com. We'll drop the email address in the details, and I will talk to you again soon. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.